All right, we're live.
Incredible.
I'll say.
Yeah, that's the best thing. Absolutely incredible. The best thing about all of it is that we didn't advertise this, and the instant we down it seems to just work.
Yeah, it went off without a
Yeah.
hitch.
Pretty great.
Um, so one thing that I don't remember where it was, but I saw a video on Instagram. I don't remember the artist who had posted it. It was like a reel or something, so I don't think I'd ever be able to find it again. But they had
Yeah.
something about tips for painting eyes on models. And the thing that I found most interesting is they use some form of like an oil paint, a white oil paint, to put the little white dots. And then, so they use that to put the white dot such that it was, they put it there and then they like reshaped it or made it smaller afterwards, which I think is an interesting thought because if if you've ever tried to like put the little dots in the eyes, particularly small eyes, it's like a little easier for like eye lenses and stuff because they're a little bigger, but for like the tiny eyes,
Even that I find kind of hard.
yeah, I mean it's hard. So, and whatever oil paint they were using, I don't remember what it was, but it was at least vaguely water soluble, so they were able to use water to reshape it. But it might be an interesting thing to try to do because at least in that sense, you could dot the white and it would be easier to modulate the size of it without like say ruining anything because I've found I'll water down like the white, whatever white I'm using. Um, Vallejo has a game color off white that I found
Hmm.
works pretty well, and I find it doesn't dry quite as quickly as some of the other whites, but even still, you water them down, you try and put the dot there, and then the opacity is it's not always great enough to really easily see the white. And then like you have to go back in several times trying to add that white dot or reshape it, and then if you do it wrong it's like you messed up the whole thing. So like I don't have any of the stuff out right now, but I know I do have some like oil paint, some like a white that I'd be interested in maybe trying that because it might be a easier way to get um a more opaque white dot
Mm.
without say
Yeah,
ruining the other stuff that I've painted and forcing me to repaint the whole thing.
that's an interesting idea because uh I don't know. Yeah, I somewhat struggle. Like
Yeah,
even
no,
doing
it's
the
hard.
eyes on this Dark Angel, I find I try to water it down enough, get a small brush, and then like you try to dot it on there, and like just no paint comes off the brush.
Yeah. No, that's I I've found that to be the case often too. And
And
then it's
then
sort of like you're going back and forth, trying to get it right, and then yeah,
yeah,
it's
and
hard.
then I then you press too hard, and it's bad. And
Yeah,
like I feel with this marine here, they're not even that small, but I feel I had to kind of repaint the stuff a time or two.
yeah,
That yeah, I'm
yeah.
just
It's
not.
something that maybe I'll look into trying, or I might try in the future. Some of a lot of the plastic GW models the eyes that they sculpt on are so small that I think even that will be hard because yeah, they're
The
just so small.
the old Space Marine, these old Rogue Trader era Space Marines, like their eye lenses are so funny. They're like all different shapes, different
Oh yeah, they're not even
sizes. Like,
close to the same size or shape. Yeah, that's true. Eric, you helped me trim a bunch of them, and I've been working on a little bit, like re-sculpting some things and improving
the one with the
stuff.
Shuriken cannon
Oh yeah, my
doesn't even
god.
have lenses. They're just sockets practically.
I
Or that's
that one I slightly reworked there. The little
hmm
upper armor that defines the eye.
okay.
Um to make them at
But
least a little more uniform, but they're still like not at all uniform.
yeah. But yeah, I guess up on the screen I largely finished painting this one. And tonight I actually did the base dry brushing on another. So hopefully it's the one with the power fist and the bolt pistol
Oh, that's
with
cool.
no helmet. So hopefully within the next couple days I can make some headway on it. Which they're pretty simple models. So I don't know. Honestly, probably by the end of this week, if I actually keep at it, I'll be able to,
Like really get far on the model,
yeah,
mostly
get
finish
pretty
them.
far on the model. But
Yeah.
it's nice. I'm glad I largely painted the one and started the next, so it makes me feel like I'll actually be able to maybe actually get a little unit of these guys.
Yeah, like I've the little calm specialist you worked on, like I've um done a bunch of sculpting on that model, and I still feel like there's a little more that I want to do on them.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, it's a weird looking model.
very weird. And then the one with the Eldar Shuriken catapult. I've also done a fair amount of work on them as well. Um, they I think are I think look at it were quite nice, honestly, the model.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there are a lot of potential like little flaws
Mm-hmm.
and weird things. Like you can tell they were sculpted by hand, and I sort of also feel like they whoever was sculpting them didn't necessarily have a lot of time to
Yeah.
make them perfect
Well, I
or
feel just like I mentioned the islands are different size. Like all their legs are weird and different. Their feet are
their feet are
different. Like,
all vastly different sizes. Yeah.
do,
um
do you have a picture? I took one with this model next to a Mark One, which I honestly painted around this same time last year.
mhm.
Um, and I feel I didn't cut back, or I sort of overly highlighted that older Mark 6 one, so they're a little brighter, but I
Mhm.
think it's still okay.
Yeah, I mean I think if you had a whole collection of them, you wouldn't really notice. I mean, I didn't necessarily realize it until you said something. um, the little apothecary guy that you're talking about, their eyes are at almost like a completely different spot on the helmet. They're almost on the
They're really
side
far
of the
apart
head.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
it's something. But I'm glad I'm painting them. Well, and the newer one that I painted, they have like a weird like M16 style rifle that
I
has
quite like it. It looks
like
better than
almost
most of the
no
other.
barrel on it. Yeah, I think it's kind of cool.
Well, it's almost like they just cut the barrel off.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very strange. I like it.
Yeah, it's interesting looking. But yeah, so I don't know. I'm excited to keep trying to paint them. It'd be cool to have like a squad of them. Which, admittedly, I mean, we can maybe talk about this a little bit later, or maybe even in tomorrow's stream. But see, I just need to keep painting the Dark Angels, guys, so I can play 10th edition.
Or I heard some talk that with some of the more recent stuff, like the Dark Angel Codex in the current edition is like actually pretty good. I don't know if
Yeah,
there's
I
any
heard that
truth to
too.
that.
I heard that too when we were at Nemo uh, earlier this year. We were at the local game store. I
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember what the place was called?
The battle standard.
That's
Yeah, the
it.
Battle Standard. Shout out to the Battle Standard in Connecticut. But people were there and they were like maybe playing a game and they were chatting about how the Dark Angels, like, I've been playing Dark Angels forever and like finally they're good, which is funny. But yeah, shout out to the Battle Standard. They actually carry pro acryl paints. That's cool.
That is
Um,
cool.
I've since learned that their black wash is like really good, supposedly, and I wish I bought it because they had them there.
Hmm.
But
I ordered some recently, so I'll be able to see what they look like. There's a chance I still won't use them, and maybe I'll just give them to you, Eric. I feel they would be good
yeah,
for black lining certain
yeah,
things in terrain and stuff.
I would have bought Pro Acryl's black paint, but they didn't have it there.
Yeah, that
Not
would be
necessarily
something
because
I'd.
it's good or bad. I completely used my bottle of black paint,
Mm,
and this is not on miniatures. I like didn't use it on. I was airbrushed a bunch of like styrofoam balls essentially for my wife for some science thing. Like so many, like 200 of these little balls,
God damn.
and like used a whole bottle of the black.
God damn.
I mean, I
My
think
yeah,
it's a fine black.
my favorite black paint that I've used is the Vallejo Model Air Black. And I don't
Yeah, I
possibly
have
that's
a
just
bottle.
due to me being used to it, but it's my favorite.
Yeah, it's mine too, and it's probably also partially being used to it. But I think it's just nice. It's a nice consistency. You could probably airbrush it
Hmm.
undiluted, but even if not, like you can put it on a wet palette, and if it just sucks up like a little water, it's almost instantly like it's so easy to make it into a glaze consistency, I feel,
Yeah.
or like to just darken things. Like it just work. It's really nice to work with because I've tried some of their others and I didn't.
Like their model color black. Like I've used that a bunch too, but and it works fine. Though I feel it doesn't
Now we
handle
have to
quite
try
as
the new
well.
model color black
Yeah.
because Vallejo just complete, or maybe it was game color they redesigned. I don't remember actually. It was probably game color.
I got when I was at the store, there's this express color. Is
Oh,
that
that's
them?
their contrast paints.
Okay, I got two express colors. I got a deep purple and a
Mm-hmm.
plasma red. And those were just random colors that I got. I've obviously not used them. And maybe I won't, but I have them.
Angel has made some videos about him because he's like all into showing people.
Yeah.
But I think they're essentially contrast paints. So
Then it means I won't use. Cool.
I mean, contrast paints are fine
No, I
for
mean I
some things.
might. I mean the reason I
They're all
got
right for glazes. Like
Yeah.
dilute them a bunch. You certainly wouldn't want to use them as a contrast paint.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
one thing that's weird about contrast paints, like, because they kind of say, like, oh, yeah, put them on thick,
Mm-hmm.
and that's fine. But, like, you really don't want to let them pool anywhere because it dries thick,
Okay.
essentially.
Yeah.
Like, it can actually occlude details if you.
Yeah, if you're not careful.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm. That doesn't
Eh.
sound like what I want.
Yeah, wow, looking at those, just keep looking at those two. Mark Six Marines, like, how different they are.
Oh yeah, they're
Like,
not even close.
everything about them is different. Look how big their fists are. I
That's
thought
one of
the
the things that's sort of consistent between them, but pretty much
yeah,
everything
that's
else. Like
true.
almost the newer one in the middle has better proportions, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, well, soon I'll have another one painted, maybe.
yeah, I like them.
Yeah.
I guess what have I been doing? I guess I just can't let things alone, and I've been continuing to do work on the little old hammer rattling sniper. I think they're finally ready for paint.
You can leave painting alone. You haven't finished the cultist.
Yeah, so I feel soon I will have to get back to painting, and I have a few more things that I want to do on that Gene Stealer cultist that I mostly finished like a month ago now. It almost seemed it's probably been close to a month. God, that's bad. So I want to do that. Then I might maybe I will just jump right in and paint the little rattling sniper. But I guess I've also been working on converting a pit fighter model from Mordheim, which I feel I haven't taken any pictures of the model yet, but maybe sometime next week I'll have some pictures to show and we can walk through that. I've also over the weekend purchased the Soul Shackle Kill Team thing, which that's the
Okay, yeah.
newest Kill Team game that has the Dark Eldar models and the Adeptus Arbite, so the judges. And
RBT's Adam.
yeah, whatever. And so I've not done too much with that. I opened up the box and kind of just looked at what was there, looked at all the different models.
Yeah.
Like I would say, for the little that I've looked at them, the RBTs, they're pretty nice. Like they look quite nice. They don't quite suffer from the really exaggerated anatomy that a lot of the newer GW models have, where they have super long legs, big feet, really small heads. These, I feel they look quite good. I would say maybe their heads are slightly too small, particularly the ones that are not wearing their helmets. Some of those, like the
Okay.
heads look a little weird. But I think for all of those heads, like I wouldn't have used them anyway. They look kind of awkward and weird. Um, all of their weapons look awful. So
Yeah. That they look
those would
particularly bad.
those would need to
Um,
will need to change.
so the pit fighter, I feel if you do that and eventually paint it such, that would have been a good Grimdark Compendium Mordheim entry.
No, that's true. That would have been. I guess that's true. They
Yeah, release like an hour long video talking about I would say the top 10, that was kind of what they implied it was going to be about, but it's essentially about the top 5. And it's long. It's like over an hour long.
Yeah,
I
it is really
actually
long.
watched it, or at least
Okay.
mainly listened to it, to be honest. But I literally listened to it at two times the speed, and like
Hmm.
it wasn't fast.
Whoa.
Like so, they must have really been taking their time,
That's
talking
interesting.
slow
But
and purposefully.
you said they didn't talk about all 10.
No, they essentially say like brings up. They say like it's the competition. There are 10 finalists, and then like they just say, and the first one we eliminated is this one, then this one, and this one, and they eliminate all 5 and just like kind of put an X over top of them. And then when they're at the top 5, then they go
Okay.
through each one and score them on 4 different categories, one of which is like kind of conversion, build, each the I guess the creator of Grimdark Compendium scores it, and then the gentleman who's been working with them for the Mordheim series, he does. But they have build, then they have painting, then there's photography, like photograph, and then finally there's a category that only the Mordheim guy judges, which is just like, does it fit Mordheim? And
Okay.
they honestly talk quite a lot about the different pieces. Um,
That's cool.
it's it's interesting that they talk about photography.
Yeah, I listened to the beginning of the video where yeah, like the 10 through 6, they like just immediately, all right, we're cutting out this. They don't say anything about it. And then they proceed to talk about the others for like an hour and 15 fucking minutes. I listened to them talk about the first and part, or the fifth and part of the fourth. And I was most surprised to hear them talk about photography and the composition of the photos and stuff. And I wonder
Well, so that's one of the
how much
questions.
background they have with photography.
Well, so that's one of my questions. I guess maybe I didn't. I entered one of the Sisters of Sigmar, and I think Eric, you said it got sixth
It was
place.
sixth. It was the last to be eliminated.
Okay, so that's
Before.
pretty good. Particularly since like I certainly didn't necessarily gear the model specifically towards this, but that's interesting. I guess I didn't look into the rules and stuff that
I don't even know if
closely,
they said what
but
the judging criteria
I
were.
don't
Maybe
really
they
think
did, or maybe it's always that.
they commented too much on the photography itself because honestly, I could have mind you, the pictures that I took weren't that good because they were taken from a cell phone camera, but like I could have easily taken other photos and really dialed in like the shadows and like made them
Yeah, I
atmospheric and
think if you
stuff.
did that, it would honestly fit the Mordheim vibe better. So
But like I
it was just
almost feel
interesting to.
that's different. That's like a completely different thing. It's almost against, well, I wouldn't say against, but it's not. A lot of that has almost nothing to do with the model. And I feel a lot of the grimdark stuff and the grimdark painters, a lot can be achieved just with how you take the pictures and the setting, and it almost has nothing to do with how you painted them. Like you hardly even have to paint them. Like I feel a good example of that is um Iron Sleet Miggs's one of his, like, the Alpha Legion army he initially made. Like a lot of them were largely just gray. And I know people initially were commenting they thought that the models had just been primed. And I mean, mind you, Miggs had done a bunch of he did put a lot of work into them, and I wouldn't really say that was true, but um if you photograph the stuff right, you can really make a huge difference in how the stuff
Oh,
looks, and
and
I
to
feel
be
in some
honest,
regards give an unrealistic view of what the model actually looks like.
well, I think yeah, you can really just work with the dynamic, like really work with the dynamic range and stuff to really like punch out those shadows and whatnot to make it perhaps more moody than it. I don't even. I would say than it normally would be. Maybe not quite that, but if you have really good like studio lighting, like it brightens everything up, and
Hmm.
if you can really increase the dynamic range, like you can really have those shadows deep and the contrast and the brightness bright and make it look maybe more striking than it actually does in real life. Um, but it was interesting because they talk about it and like talk about like, oh yeah, this model, like, oh, the face isn't really in focus. Like the one vampire one with the
Hmm.
like curled up woman, the ground, like his face kind of isn't in focus. But uh the gentleman, I guess, who kind of runs Grimdark Compendium, he even mentioned that some of the like of the top five like were part of the issue why they didn't get higher was just like maybe the photography wasn't as good or something, which is interesting, which I feel is maybe a lesson learned that, and I think I talked maybe briefly about this once before, or maybe not, but I've more recently started to take photos with like a better mirrorless camera, and
Hmm.
I've been comparing them to pictures from like my cell phone and such, and wow, we just have to stop taking photos with our cell phones. They're just
Yeah.
not great. They and some of the painting stuff that was talked about in when they talked about the different paint jobs, like the one that says filth on his chest, they talked a little bit about how some of the highlights on the skin around the pustules and stuff, like a really stark edge highlights that seemed overdone and so forth. And
Isn't
I
that what,
almost,
like, that's like what most of the, I feel a lot of the painters just do.
yeah, so, but I guess what I'm trying to, what the
What do
thing I
you
I
do
wanted
you
to
even
say,
think
think
that
that's
was
true? Or do
yeah,
you think
that
it's
could
just
easily just be the photography because how cell phone cameras work now due to the like computational photography where they average a bunch of photos together to help with shit exposures and like bad lighting and whatnot.
Mhm.
So I wonder if some of that is just not ideal photography. And I say all this because your entry, Adam, the the photos aren't great. Like, I mean, at least it's a nice gray background and so forth. But, um, yeah, the photography isn't great, and I kind of think it is some areas are a little bit blown out in their exposure, and a bunch of the transitions and such don't look as good as I think they do because of the cell phone photography stuff. So, if anything, I've learned more recently and through this, like we just have to take better photos. And I think, oh yeah, and like this, for example, the one you have the cultist you recently painted,
Yeah.
like it almost like some of the face on the model almost looks slightly cell shaded because of how
How different photos were averaged together.
like
Yeah,
kind of
so
the compression and such.
I feel I didn't really notice it being as bad as, so maybe about a year ago I got a newer phone, a Pixel 6, a Google Pixel 6, and like for years, maybe like for 4 years, I was using a Pixel 2, and I didn't really notice it as much. But certainly with the Pixel 6, a lot of the pictures that I will take, they don't yeah, I don't really feel they're an accurate representation of what the model actually looks like. And because for a long time, what I would often do, and I mean, I still do, is as I'm painting, I will periodically take pictures of the model and send them to like both of you and other friends and stuff. And then I will more closely look at those photos to sort of look at different details and whatnot and see kind of what they look like, because you can blow them up and make them larger. And I would use that to kind of get a sense like, oh, you know what, this highlight is too stark, or the transition isn't very good, like what you were saying they were mentioning in like the Grimdark Compendium thing. And yeah, so in that sense, noticing that some of the photos do kind of have more of a cell shaded amalgamation look to them, it doesn't accurately show, it like doesn't actually accurately show like what was painted, so it's not as, a little more misleading.
Yeah, so all of that to say, I think we just need to just start taking better photos and like use better cameras. Like cell phone stuff is convenient, but they're designed to take pictures of people and landscapes and stuff. They're not for macro or smaller stuff. They're just not good for it. And a lot of the yeah, so it's just not.
Yeah, so it's all interesting, and I feel, yeah, moving forward, I mean, I'll still take stuff with like the cell phone camera, but before we like post any of the pictures online or anything like that, we'll probably end up like using a better camera to do it, because
Yeah.
but see, like the thing is, I even feel like you've taken a lot of pictures of your like Dark Angels, like the newer Dark Angels, and like I will say, like some of those photos, yeah, like the shadows and stuff like that, they they don't look like the actual models. Do you see what I'm saying, Eric?
Yeah.
Like the dynamic range or whatnot, like the shadows look deeper, at least in some areas, than they actually are. Like if you were to pick the model up and look at it in like natural sunlight or something. So in that sense, um, I feel that there's a lot behind photography and all that where you can really dial it in to make things either look worse
Uh,
or
yeah.
better
Well,
than it
we can
actually
actually
is.
get back to this, but Johnny Johnny Q, like why you don't really need to be here. Like I can support like who I want and whatnot. Like we don't need any of your hate speech here. But yeah. And thanks, Sear Lee Harbor, for the support there.
Wow.
I think I have since deleted the messages.
Oh yeah, I didn't even notice them. Like the I since I
Yeah,
looked
big man
through,
for being an asshole on the internet. Yeah, I feel that that is the internet.
yeah, that feel like you
Uh,
feel safe behind your like the anonymous nature of the internet, and like which
but it
pathetic.
makes you wonder, like, how people even find like a small stream like ours about the very niche aspect of the miniature hobby to like come in and like make fun of or like say it's pathetic to have a Black Lives Matter poster in the back. Like, how does this even?
Yeah, it's
uh,
like here we're talking about how cell phone cameras like don't accurately portray like macro photography of miniatures. It's like, get the fuck out of here. Like, why are you in here? Unbelievable.
They even mentioned that, like, so they seem like they don't support the people in Ukraine. Just like, God. Yeah, you might.
Yeah,
Yeah, well,
it's really weird.
weird to be here, but well, yeah, we can get back on track, but
Yeah, so I don't know. It's been an interesting learning experience, and I feel there is a lot that can be done to like better showcase your work in many different forms. Like I feel most of the stuff, like whenever I was taking pictures of models and stuff like that, I would always have try and have everything super well lit, and like I was never about trying to hide or like trying to
yeah,
display the stuff in a way that doesn't accurately portray like how I painted them or something. Like I didn't want to take pictures of the models in like heavy shadows and stuff like that, because like I thought that um wasn't honestly displaying like what they actually looked like. But mind you, I don't. There's nothing wrong with doing that, and I feel in some regards, depending on what you're trying to do, like you can make some really neat stuff that way. And honestly, I think in the future, if we do paint more terrain and have other stuff like that, I would like to try and take more pictures like that because they can be cool.
yeah.
So this is unrelated, but
Is someone
over
name
the
ours?
or somebody's talking about autism.
Yeah, I just the internet. The internet.
Yeah, the internet. It's
Yeah, I
weird.
think it for Adam, just what you were going on about painting. Like, yeah, I feel most of the time I want, particularly if you're gonna put it in like a nice like black or gray background or whatever, I want to try to get as natural a photo as possible to represent it like what it looks like. But I think I would like to start doing more photography, like more atmospheric shots, like on terrain and things
Hmm.
like that. Like I think there's a lot to be said and a lot of skill that goes in there that you could do some really cool stuff with. The one person behind like the Vignette 28 and
Hmm.
made two magazines like does a lot of that, and I think that's super cool. And honestly, even the Grimdark Compendium stuff on Mordheim,
Yeah.
uh they do some great shots like that, and so there's certainly a place for all of that. um
Well, so, and I also feel, as I sort of mentioned earlier, I didn't really notice this to be as much of an issue with like the Pixel 2 I was using, and I think that uses the software and stuff managing the camera and whatnot is different than what is used on this newer phone. So I sort of feel like depending on the phone you have and what you're using to take pictures of, like you might not even there might not be as
yeah,
much of a
and
problem.
also like iPhones, like they have a macro mode, which admittedly they're still using the same stuff. Like it's a crop from, I think, their telephoto sensor, but it might the compression and algorithmic stuff might not be as aggressive. So like you can get pretty pretty nice stuff. And even these photos that we've been kind of saying aren't the best, um, it's
They
still
still look
pretty
good.
it's still pretty great for just a phone, like a camera you pretty much have anywhere all the time. It's so
Remember
Yeah.
much
our
better.
old point and shoot digital
Like
cameras?
two
Oh,
Yeah, like
megapixel cameras and stuff.
it's amazing that the photos are as good as they are. And I think, like you're saying, just using a phone, a nice little light box and such, you can get some great photos that I think it really does open up people to get nice photos and stuff without having to spend like $1,000 on like
Yeah.
a mirrorless or DSLR camera, which has a huge learning curve. So
Yeah, like if you're not using that properly, you'll get photos that look fucking awful
it's
too.
much harder, or maybe not much harder, but like you have to learn a fair amount and have it set up to get good photos. Whereas with your phone, it's much more of a point and shoot. It's just, I
Yeah.
guess, I've been surprised, and I think it is a little bit with how the Pixel works. Like they still haven't really fine tuned the new camera modules and stuff that changed with the
Hmm.
6 and onward. So I
Yeah.
imagine they'll get better. And I also don't know how Samsung, their cameras work at it. Like they all have slightly different algorithmic stuff.
Yeah.
It's just ultimately I didn't think there was a difference between, but I've since learned that there is at least some. Um,
Yeah, I've certainly
and
noticed it.
it's been fun to like work with and like try to get better shots. And because as Adam mentioned, I think I had even noticed like I was taking quick shots from my camera to see like, oh, how good is that blend? And it's like, wow, this really isn't what it looks like to my eye. And
Yeah, I
part of
mean,
that
there's
is I think,
always some difference between that, but I think it's exacerbated in a way that's not that accurate, or not always that accurate. And like the thing is, for me, like I have a nicer camera. It's just I
it's
don't
a lot
use
more
it.
of a pain to like get the stuff out, set up the lighting,
Yeah.
set the all the
Well, I can certainly
exposure stuff, and
I can
get a
certainly
tripod out.
understand. Yeah, I can certainly understand how like more like professional miniature painters or like professional streamers slash YouTubers and stuff like that. Um, I can see how they could set up like almost like a permanent fixture in their studio just for taking photos.
Oh, and we're also it's also on YouTube. The weird comments are coming from YouTube.
Thanks,
Um,
YouTube.
yeah, yeah, but I don't
Well,
know.
yeah,
Like at
let's
least I've
almost.
gone way down the rabbit hole in this photography stuff, but um, there's a lot you can do with it, and I feel
Well, do you think somehow this is getting back to the weird comments? Do you think somehow just YouTube has now like because they have weird things where they will promote different things, streams and stuff, and like somehow it's really weird. Yeah, like I think it's probably just the algorithm, which like is sort of seemingly changing all the time, and like depending on what happens and like how often you do things, like your videos and content will be promoted more or less. So like maybe just
yeah,
somehow bringing in the trash.
yeah, yeah,
Because it was weird, like for a long time, like it just wasn't. We weren't having it streamed simultaneously on two platforms, and I guess the whole reason we are is because depending on who's watching it, I know there are some people who really prefer to watch on YouTube rather than Twitch. So, but
yeah. Because I feel
I
not
think just
everyone.
about everybody has a you or like you don't even need a YouTube account to watch stuff, whereas you probably need a Twitch account to watch things on Twitch.
Not even a sure, to be honest.
I don't
But
think. Well, I don't remember. Yeah, I don't. Honestly, I don't remember. It's been a little while since I've really. I used to watch a lot more stuff on Twitch than I do now. But I don't think you need anything. It's just you need an account if you want to like follow and get notifications of stuff. Yeah, I don't. Weird shit.
So what have we been working on lately? Well, I haven't been working on anything. I guess I'm looking in to try to. Okay, Johnny Q has lots of YouTube accounts, and he's here for the night.
Unfortunately, we're not going to Adepticon. But I guess tomorrow we are going to be streaming on with we're on Modern Synthesis channel to react to some of the model reveals, which I think is at like 11 tomorrow or Wednesday evening. So that should be kind of fun to see. Presumably 10th edition get revealed. But I know a bunch of, well, we're not going to be going to Adepticon, like I said. A bunch of the Under the Dice Hive Scum people, they're all going to be there with some of the Mordheim boards they built for the New England Mordheim Open.
Yeah, so certainly if you're at Adepticon and are interested in Mordheim, you should seek them out, and maybe even if you bring like a little warband or something, try and play like a pickup game or something. I know they're having like a little event, but they like had to really limit the number of people who were taking place in it. But I think they're still hoping to just like other like sort of random people that stop by to be able to play too.
Yeah, I mean they have a whole room rented out, to be playing stuff, such that even if you're not signed up for that Mordheim event,
Yeah.
like they just want people to show up.
Yes.
Yeah, and I would, because I think, I don't know, I'm not sure. I know Totally Not Panicking is going to be there. Like, there are a whole bunch of people. So I think, and I feel even if you like didn't get a ticket for something, I'm sure you could just hang out and talk with people. And I don't know, I think it'd be pretty neat.
Yeah, agreed.
And
Warhammer 3, didn't they just release the Chaos Dwarves in that game? I know
think
some
they
people
did,
were
yeah.
excited about that.
mm-hmm. But yeah, I guess to answer what we've been working on, I've been just painting Old Hammer Dark Angel models, which there are some have been on the screen a little bit, and I'm starting another one that I feel all I do now is paint Dark Angels.
Well, the notion that you're painting anything, I think, is pretty good.
Yeah, I have an
Yeah.
Rogue Trader era Eldar Scout like Ranger that I want to paint sometime soon here as well. So
Yeah, that's cool. I'm working on a whole series of things. I have an old hammer rattling sniper that I did some modifications and converting to that I think I will try and paint soon. I think earlier in the stream I had mentioned that let's get it. Let's get it. I got the Soul Shackle Kill Team game. Eric, get excited. You're gonna be getting most of this soon.
I don't want that box.
Well, you can throw out the box. The box is shit.
I'll take the terrain and maybe try to paint that too.
But I've been slowly working on trimming one of the judges, and I feel, or one of the RBTs, and at one point I will assemble and convert one to be holding probably a shotgun, a much smaller shotgun than what they're currently carrying.
This is only somewhat related to the Mordheim people, like the people, the Under the Dice kind of Hive Scum crew that are gonna be doing some more time stuff at Adepticon. They're also selling a bunch of little mechs that Anna Polanchek from Gardens of Hecate created, or I think What's Evan on Instagram, he commissioned Anna to create some, and then through talking with her, ask if they could like kind of release it in a wider scale, and
Hmm.
they're being, I guess, unveiled and sold for the first time at Adepticon. They're like, yeah, these small kind of mech walker type things that she designed. And I think What's Evan, who's going to be there as
It
well. I think
it's what
it's What's
Evan.
Evan. Yeah, sorry. Um, I think he also made his like a zine for mech kind of related stuff. I'm not sure if it has like a rule set with it or if it's like trying to use the BattleTech rules, or not entirely sure, but I don't know. It looks cool and something to be on the lookout for if any of you all are going to Adepticon. I think No Clear Coat might have had an Instagram story about it.
Yeah, I think
Yeah, he
that's true.
did. And on the In Rust We Trust Discord, so that's the Discord channel that Hive Scum people have been doing. They posted some images of the stacks of these little miniatures, cast in white metal,
That's cool.
and they look pretty swell.
Yeah, so that I feel lots of kind of cool stuff, and they're really fun people. We had the pleasure of meeting at Nemo, which I guess we have a episode of our podcast dragged into Turbo Lasers,
Hmm.
chatting with some of them that if people haven't seen, you could look into.
Yes, certainly.
They're apparently gonna record a live episode of Hive Scum at Adepticon,
That should
which
be
is
cool.
fun.
Yeah. Also, I guess related to Adepticon, are people excited for the potential like reveals and stuff
Yeah, I
from
think
Games
it's
Workshop?
been kind of going back and forth. Some people are like new Space Hawk, some are like 10th edition, but I, I'm pretty confident it's 10th edition because I think the Warhammer 40,000 website has
Hmm.
updated to just be a picture of like the Terminator and the Tyranid there. So I'm pretty sure it's a
Okay.
10th edition thing that
Well,
has some
because
Terminators and Tyranids.
when
Um,
the Terminator has like blue armor, so that's sort of blue armor and like a white helmet, suggesting that Ultramarines.
so I am cautiously optimistic. I mean, I feel Terminators for back in the day when I played 40K a little bit, I was always big into using Deathwing,
Hmm.
like all Terminator stuff. And I would love to have some nice looking Terminators that are more scaled and proportioned, like the Abaddon model or
Yeah, yeah,
Abaddon. I don't remember how you're supposed to pronounce it, but just essentially models that look like a person could fit in there.
yeah.
And I'm really hoping that these redesigns are more like there's been slight changes to make the anatomy more plausible and just make them a little bit bigger. So I feel that would be cool. Um, I and hopefully some actually nice Tyranids. As for Lionel Johnson, I know uh, by listening to Arbiter Ian, that YouTube channel, um, he has been doing some kind of lore recaps based on the newer books that have been being released recently with advancing the 40K storyline. Like there's one about Angron and what his world eaters are doing, and Vashtor, that demon trying to become a chaos god type stuff. But the most recent one, I believe, kind of pertained to the Dark Angels and so forth. And so there's certainly a lot of kind of foreshadowing and hinting at like maybe something could be happening with Lionel Johnson. So I feel there's certainly a possibility that there would be Lionel Johnson as like the next loyalist Primarch in 40k, which could be neat.
Hope if it happens, hopefully they look better than the Ultramarine one. I don't think they
But I
will.
feel it's certainly a possibility that they could, and like that could be cool. Like I feel uh the new Azrael model was pretty good. So
The next fault the law. Yeah. Okay, so they're not being subtle.
is there really the next book called The Lion? Damn. Okay.
That's
That's
probably true.
something.
This little guardsman, like, it's awesome. I really like them.
Yeah, I do too. Like very nice sort of burnished weathered plate. Really cool.
Like, I really love them.
And
And
there's a
I feel
stock on that rifle. Hot damn.
Yeah, they're
yeah, and I
cool.
kind of feel also because like the model, the kind of the bulky armor and so forth, it makes the rifle seem like kind of a reasonable size.
Hmm. Yeah, it looks really good. Like, yeah, I really like them.
Yeah, well, so yeah, maybe the lion will be revealed. That would be sort of cool, maybe. I mean,
I would tend to
and
say it won't be cool, but it could be cool.
yeah, like I feel the plastic Gilliman model isn't particularly cool. Um, the Chaos Primarch plastic models, they're all pretty good.
Yeah, I think they are. They're all pretty good. I think the big thing about a lot of those is I don't. They're all quite large,
They're too
and
big to want
yeah.
to have.
Okay, Homebrew Guard based on the Doodle. Yeah, they're awesome. I love them.
Dark Heresy, like the Fantasy Flight. RPG Dark Heresy. That's cool.
Yeah, I have a lot of fond memories of that, even though we hardly really did anything with it. It was cool.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
awesome.
that's cool.
Yeah, but I don't know. So I'm excited for the reveals tomorrow. Like the- I would certainly say cautiously optimistic though about the Terminators because they obviously they released new Chaos Terminators the same time as Abaddon was there, and they're terrible. Like they
Also,
didn't
I
do
feel
anything.
well those Chaos Terminators, I feel they look fine. They're not really what I wanted them to be. Like they're
Yeah,
scaled
that's
up, they're larger. Like if you compare them to a lot of the old Chaos Terminators, they look good, but
they're
all of the
certainly a lot better,
flaws,
but
yeah, like all of the flaws from those older armors, like where their shoulders and stuff are placed, like that stuff that I was hoping they would try and fix, particularly when they did a better job of fixing that stuff with the Abaddon model.
yeah.
So that is the main thing. Like if they do have new plastic Terminators, if they don't try and fix some of that stuff, I will not be happy. And well, regardless, join us tomorrow with Modern Synthesis as we likely
But it looks like,
lambast whatever.
yeah, looks like they're gonna reveal stuff for like most of their stuff, like Horus Heresy, Kill Team, Underworlds, and Age of Sigmar. So I guess there's a lot of stuff that could be there.
Mhm.
Hopefully, whatever the Horus Heresy stuff. I mean, it's obviously more Space Marines, but it would be great if that wasn't just another tank being made from resin to plastic. Like, because while they're cool and all, like if you actually wanted to play the new version of Horus Heresy, like it's just all tanks and stuff. Like it would be good if they like redesign like some assault marines or
We
something.
we already know right now they're not going to show us anything from the old world stuff.
But it would be
If they did, that would be the
great.
biggest shock and the biggest upset. But
Yeah, if
I don't feel there's any way
it
they
would
could show anything for that.
it would be really nice if they did reveal something for that, but yeah, it seems unlikely.
Yeah, like almost impossible.
Yeah. But we can hope. I mean, I guess Underworlds means just another small war band, and they're often pretty good and interesting. So
Yeah,
I don't know. Hopefully, it's good.
yeah.
Heard they may reveal the Dawnbringer Crusade for Age of Sigmar. I can't say I even know what that means.
I
um,
really don't.
or I guess they could actually finally reveal the Cities of Sigmar stuff. They've been really
That's
drip feeding
true.
that for a while, and that
Also,
could be cool. I guess Dante's already been revealed.
does anyone think this model's cool?
He,
I mean, it's nicely sculpted. It's a pretty faithful update of the original model, but I sort of feel like there are a bunch of aspects of it that I feel they got wrong. Or
so
maybe not got
Dawnbringer
wrong.
Crusade is Cities of Sigmar renamed. Okay. Well,
Oh
hopefully that
shit.
happens.
Okay.
Because I would actually like to see that. Um yeah, but back to Dante, yeah, I could also do without the rock. I
The
feel
pose is stupid.
it
And
it's fine.
I feel this model, it's well sculpted. Overall, it looks pretty good, but it really is like continuing on GW's trend of making models with overly small heads and overly long legs with big feet. Like, this model is all legs. And I mean, part of the reason why the head looks even small, like the head's pretty small, but it looks even smaller because the death masks or whatnot, is pretty tiny and it's just like plastered on the front of the helmet. Like the older model, the original model, it the mask itself did a better job of actually encompassing the majority of the helmet. This newer one is very much like, oh, they have a Primaris helmet and they pasted like a small mask on the front. And so like that just doesn't look right.
Yeah, it kind of gives an illusion that it's even smaller than it
Yeah.
is. I also kind of agree. Like I really dislike the loincloth stuff GW works with. I'm This is maybe done better than anticipated, but
But like why
it's
the fuck
still
is it even there?
yeah, why is that there? Like it just looks like he has toilet paper trailing out of his ass or something.
Like I
Like
feel if
it
you would
just
get this model, it would be in your best interest to not attach that and to like sculpt his groin.
but like that's so much work.
Yeah.
Like so much work. And like why did they have to make his weapons even bigger? I
Yeah,
mean,
it's true.
it's GW. I feel the
Fucking
axe,
dumb.
well, like that's fine-ish, but making the Melta pistol like bigger and like it almost like has a foregrip on it, like what a weird
But even
design.
all of that, I feel could have been fine if just the barrel of the Melta
Was a
thing
bit smaller,
was
yeah.
not even a bit smaller. It was like a third of this. It's
That's
like it's
that's
bad.
good. Hope that his loincloth doesn't get sucked into the jetpack. It's like, yeah, it's just such a bad, just like just so unnecessary. I
I
guess
mean, I
it's to
will.
try to make it
Yeah,
look more dynamic, but like it doesn't add
yeah. It's
anything.
trying to make it look dynamic, and it's like fucking stupid. It is nice that they did a better job, I think, of sculpting the armor plates and stuff to show that there's room for the model to actually have a butt, which that's good.
Yeah, allows them to shit out the loincloth.
Loin
No.
or loincloths the wallet chain for 40. Yeah,
Um,
maybe.
in some sense, I almost feel that this, yeah, the wallet chain, it's fair. I kind of feel it almost fits like most of these Primaris sizing of old characters. Like they've done it a lot, and they're all pretty good, but they never really like stand out like wow, they've done it. They've really improved and made a cool model even better. They s-
Yeah, have well, I almost feel like the closest that they got to that was the Ragnar Blackmane one, except the scenic base completely destroyed it.
Wasn't Mephiston kind of good?
Oh no, you're right. He was the best. He's by far the best. And part of the reason why he was the best was that it was heavily based off of that old illustration. And in that illustration, they weren't like parkouring across like a cityscape or something.
That yeah, it is supposed to be a dangerous process crossing the Rubicon, or I don't know what they call it, to get Primarisized. It would be hilarious if like one of them just fucking died. Like uh has shit, what's his name? What's the space wolf with the Santa Claus
Logan
sled?
Grimnar.
Yeah, has like I don't think Logan Grimnar is done there yet. It would be funny if he died. I don't would anyone miss him? I doubt it.
Probably not.
Yeah, I think the Azrael model, I like the Azrael model. I still feel it's a bit like the I think it's better than the Dante one,
Has
but
that
I
model
still
been
feel
released yet?
I think it may have just been released if you buy the big box set with Vashtor and stuff in it. So,
I don't even know. How do you spell his name?
I- yeah, I don't know. If you just
I
go
think
to
I
Games
found it.
Workshop's website, they probably have it
Or,
like as either
well, here's one.
pre-order or
I mean, the Azrael model looks pretty good. I feel the the pose sort of sucks.
yeah, it's not the best.
And it doesn't help that they made his sword even bigger, which isn't his sword like some made out of some void material or some
Like a
shit that
block of obsidian, I
or
think.
some fucking shit, and so like now they somehow made it bigger. Like what the fuck?
It can never dull, Adam.
Yeah, that's fucking stupid.
It's actually awesome. There are like three of them. Like, doesn't like Asimodai have one? Which I mean, at least he's not as bad as the new the I say new, but the plastic Asimodai model is awful.
Wait, there's a plastic model for him?
It's really bad. Don't you shouldn't look for it. It's so bad. Like the old metal one's cool.
God, I don't even
Maybe I should
remember
strip.
this.
Maybe I should find that and strip it and paint that model.
You should. God, I don't remember. No, they didn't. Did they really?
If you type in Asamoah, you'll get an awful looking picture of an awful looking model.
How do you spell his?
I don't even know.
Oh fuck. Oh shit.
When you see it, you'll remember it, and
Is
be
that really?
sad.
Is that plastic?
Maybe it's fine cast, to be honest. I guess it's probably fine cast.
Fuck.
It
Let's
just
see.
it's on like made to order. Like no one wanted this
Are you
model.
fucking kidding me? Like I didn't remember that that was even made. That looks awful.
It just
Holy shit.
it's not good.
Yeah, that's awful.
But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, Bjorn,
I'd
the
say if the
Valorant
line
entities.
gets released, I'll buy it and paint it. But I think that's too much.
That's
I
too
won't do
much.
that.
You should. We should strip the paint off of the old Asmodee model, or maybe even just try and buy a newer one on eBay and paint them to go along with all your Rogue Trader era-esque models. Would be
Yeah, 'cause
cool.
it's actually cool.
Oof, that's horrible. I didn't remember that was released.
It's fair. It's something you want to put out of your mind.
Oh, and shit,
Have-
did they try and more? They tried to represent, like, doesn't he has some of these, like, crazy, like, blades or
The
whatever
Blades
for.
of Reason, yeah.
It's like, have they ever looked dumber than what they look like there? I assume that's what
I
that shit's supposed to
That
be.
must be what that is. Oh, that's bad. I
Look at
like
his
the other
shoulder
one that it
pad.
wasn't. Ugh, that they didn't really
Fucking
show you.
awful.
It was like an old cool. Maybe it was a Mark Gibbons
Yeah, it
picture,
probably was.
and I kind of. Well, yeah, it wasn't that. And look at this. Look at the skull shoulder pad. Like it looks so, like a pathetic looking Punisher skull.
Yeah, it's really bad. That is horrendous.
You need to torture them fallen. Maybe they'll make some fallen models.
Yeah, I don't know. That's bad. That's bad.
Not good, yeah. Not good.
Yeah, so I guess. God, no. Makes me feel bad. I was in a happier place not remembering it existed.
What model are we talking about that we didn't remember?
Did
As
you remember they
Madai.
made a new model of the, like,
I don't
Clyde
remember what
Chaplin
the
for
new
the Dark
model of.
Angels?
Oh wow, didn't remember that.
The old one
That's
was
not a
cool. It
good
had
model.
like a neat power sword and
I mean, that's not a cool model. I don't think it's like so terrible. Like the details are dumb. The Crozius is bad. Like the
His legs look bad.
it's a
that
good example of like they brought nothing new to that. It just made things worse in comparison to the
Yeah.
old one.
What's the name of the demon whatever that
Vashtor, I think.
he's like, I'm
I think
looking
he's
forward to Vashtor getting wrecked by the whole Dark Angels chapter.
I'm
Because, like,
pretty sure he
weren't they
does.
trying to um like siege the rock or something?
They did. The newest book is all about that.
Well, did you read
Arbiter
that,
Ian
Eric?
explains it all.
Did you read it, Eric?
No, I just listened to Arbiter Ian's
Oh,
video
you
about
just
what happened.
what happened?
I didn't listen carefully. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure, like, some of the other Chaos gods were pissed at Vashtor and, like, they fight amongst each other. And maybe the rock gets really messed up. I guess I need to re listen.
Hmm.
It sounds like real stuff happens, though. And some fallen show up or some shit. I don't know.
Okay.
What book are we talking about here?
The Arcs of Omen. There's like a series of books advancing the lore, 40k lore, that all of it's pertaining with Vashtor. Vashtor, that kind of
Yeah.
Mechanicus demon-ish thing. He like
Yeah.
comes up to Abaddon like, "Hey Abaddon, like, would you like to work with me to gain power? If you do, I would like to become a fifth chaos god. And I think I can do it if we work together and find 12 incredibly powerful artifacts all across the galaxy. I'll put together a bunch of powerful space hawks to give to you, Abaddon, and you can give them to your most powerful generals and send them on a scavenger hunt
Oof.
across the galaxy to find each new MacGuffin." And there are a bunch of books about that.
Uh-huh.
The second one was like called Archeon, or yeah, and it was about the Red Angel, and like, I don't know. They've been advancing the lore, and Arbiter Ian has in their YouTube channel, he's been being sent the books, and he, like, for each one, he has like maybe a 15-20 minute video kind of summarizing what's happening in it.
Yeah.
Um,
Maybe I'll try and listen to that stuff because I am at least vaguely interested, but I'm not.
he does a good job of summarizing the stuff. Admittedly, I listened to them and paid so little attention, I don't even remember.
Plot twist. Frozen the Infinite already has them all in his collection. That's the Necron dude. That's funny. That would be better. Probably does.
But yeah, so they're advancing the lore, and it kind of sounds like The Rock really got messed up in it, and they probably talked about Ultimate Secrets or some shit, which is
Oof.
probably the line is there. Maybe Cypher shows up and
Yeah, so all of that could be cool, but I find it what it probably will end up being is they just reveal too much stuff and they tell you too much stuff and it's just kind of stupid.
that could easily be true. But we'll we'll see. But main thing, need to keep painting Dark Angel so I can play 10th edition.
It's a shame we weren't able to get the Ark of Omens Vashtor Collector's Edition.
Shit.
That would have been sick,
That would have
Eric.
been so sick.
But I don't give two fucks about that.
So what do you think? They had some stuff on the Warhammer community re-showing that like noble from Necromunda with the like
Oh
clockwork
yeah.
armor stuff.
Lady
Lady Helena Helmar or something. I feel the model's pretty good.
Yeah, it looks pretty good. It's a little dumb looking.
But
But
I find that's sort of refreshing. It's different. It's sort of weird.
yeah,
Um, I find the little servo skulls holding like the
they look
train of
bad.
Egress, like, wow, is that like doesn't take much to make a skull look cool,
They
but like
failed.
they really
Look at the
pushed
teeth.
in the
I think
opposite.
the teeth really do it in.
Yeah, they do kind of look buck teeth,
Mm-hmm.
tooth teeth. It's not great looking,
No.
but the rest of the model looks kind of cool,
Yeah.
or at least it's different. It's nice to see them make weird, interesting models. But yeah, resin yucky. Like the fact that it's resin, like who cares? Like never, we'll never want that. Particularly, I mean, Forge World has certainly gotten better, but not good.
Wait, Valkyr, Undermine Vashtor, and Ultramarine up to save it. God, I hope that's true.
Oh, like talking about Forge World not being great at what they do. I don't know. People may or may not have been. Um, Squid Mars, like a YouTube channel.
Yeah, big YouTube
Um,
channel.
that I think I think it's a Swede. They're from Sweden. But they've been for a while now working on like they maybe tried to trade like a old like Night Goblin. They kept trading it with people to get a better model. They eventually traded the Night Goblin until they got 2 Warlord Titans.
Oh my
Um,
god.
and now they're building them and making a big diorama of like them fighting. Um, and they've had a lot of videos pertaining to how they've been doing this,
Hmm.
and like they're pretty fun and interesting to watch. But in terms of Forge World being pathetic, when they were building the Titans or like one of the Titans, they realized one of the big like kind of shoulder uh, engine pieces was just not there. And they had to contact them about it, and they didn't have a replacement piece for it. So
Hmm.
it took them like I don't know a month to cast the piece to send it out to them.
Whoa, that's sick.
But it's like, yeah, that's Forge World for you. That's Forge World.
It sure is. Love it.
Love to see it.
Yeah. Only 23, only like 24 more hours until they do the reveals tomorrow. So excited.
Yeah, I don't know, like, is there any interesting, pressing things to talk about?
Yeah,
I think,
perhaps we could call it because I should go to bed.
yeah, I feel we can, particularly since we're gonna be streaming again tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, thanks everybody for joining us tonight, or whatever time frame it is for you. It's been fun chatting about things, and I know you'll hear from us again pretty soon as we talk about the reveals and stuff tomorrow.
Yeah,
um, but yeah,
should be fun.
stay safe, stay healthy, everybody. Keep on enjoying the hobby. We will talk to you again soon. Till
Yep,
next
see you,
time,
everybody.
over and out.